Coming up on American Black Journal, film critic Elvis Mitchell is here to talk about his documentary that celebrates the African-American movies and actors of the 1970s. Plus, this year's Bookstock is a bargain lover's dream with more than 400,000 used books and media on sale. We're going to get the details. Stay where you are. American Black Journal starts right now.
From Delta faucets to Behr paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Support also provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The DTE Foundation proudly supports 50 years of American Black Journal in covering African American history, culture, and politics. The DTE Foundation and American Black Journal partners in presenting African American perspectives about our communities and in our world.
Also brought to you by Nissan Foundation and viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm your host, Stephen Henderson. The documentary, Is That Black Enough for You, is showing at the Detroit Free Press Film Festival later this month. The film, by writer and historian Elvis Mitchell, examines how the African-American movies of the 1970s had a major influence on Hollywood. It's a directorial debut for Mitchell, who is from Highland Park, Michigan, and a graduate of Wayne State University. Here's the trailer for the Netflix documentary, followed by my conversation with Mitchell. To American Black Journal, and also welcome back to Detroit. You're a Detroit area native, and it's always great to have folks come back and talk about their work.
Well, thank you for both welcomes. It's a thrill to be doing this and a thrill to be a Detroit native. So thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little more about Detroit in a bit, but first I do want to talk about the film festival. And your film, Is That Black Enough for You? This is one of my favorite subjects, by the way. Is black films, especially of the 1970s. I grew up during the 1970s, and I wasn't allowed to watch some of these movies when I was little, but I saw them later, and I got really into them because they're fun. And especially when I was like a young black kid, these were the first movies I experienced where you had black casts and black stories. And so it kind of frames the whole understanding of that for me. But tell me first, what inspires you to make this movie?
I think it's a similar experience to what you're describing.
Yeah.
And also, you buttress that, I guess, the kinds of things we would see on television, and those images, unlike now, didn't come with disclaimers or warnings or context. It's just, wow. And you watch and think, gee whiz, white people must be crazy if they think that's what we're like. and because I remember as a kid, you watch these old movies, you think, so a white married couple sleep in separate beds. Okay, I don't know any white married people, so that's, what? So all these things that were never really explicated, but left an impact anyway. So they had these films of the 1970s, which created a whole new mythology, I think, for not only for just people of color, but for the world. I mean, one of the points I make in the movie is just how pop culture was shifted by the way music was used in these films, and how that created a whole new appetite and new way to market movies that black filmmakers and, more importantly, black recording artists never got credit for, never got their due. But is that always the story of the black experience?
Yes.
It's not getting our due.
Yes, it really is. So I want to talk about the sort of cultural challenge that this era and these films present. As you point out, there are a lot of things about them that are troubling in terms of the way that they portray African American life, and the way television, of course, was doing it then. But they do really importantly capture parts of the culture that were accurate, and that kids like me could kind of relate to. And just as important, they paved the way for the Black film that comes in the 90s and after, when we really start to come into our own and start to tell our own stories in a way that is really authentic. I want to talk about that tension, I guess, between being uncomfortable with some of these films, but also appreciating them.
Well, I think that tension you're talking about was extant even during that period, because while you had Black action films, you also had Sounder, which was the first film to have a nominations for the actor and actors, African Americans. That had never happened before that moment. 1972 is also a pretty incredible year, because you also have the nomination of Diana Ross for Lady Sings the Blues. That's the first time a Black woman is nominated for Best Original Screenplay. Suzanne DePass for Lady Sings the Blues. That still hasn't happened since. The following year, you have Claudine, which is a project that the late Diana Sims was developing for herself. And when she got too sick, wasn't able to do it, she passed the baton on to her dear friend Diane Carroll, who got to make that movie and got an Oscar nomination. That got a chance to respond to this image of her that existed in this TV show called Julia just 5 years earlier, and to put her feet on the ground and show this earthy presence that she hadn't really got a chance to demonstrate in mass media before. You've got Sparkle, which has given us enduring songs that are still part of the world. You've got, my gosh, what I think is one of the crowning achievements of American cinema, and that's, Killer of Sheep by Charles Burnett. There are extraordinary films that came out of that period that make it a much more complex time than it's giving credit for too. And that's why I've been very specific about saying, even though people seem to miss the point somehow, that this is not a film about blaxploitation. Right. This is a film about the breadth and expanse of films that are being offered. You've got the movie done by William Greaves, Symbiocytotoxicplasm, Take One. Without that, you've got no Eric Andre. You've got no Sacha Baron Cohen. There's so much experimentation in formal terms being done. And also you've got movies that I think set the tone for what Black action films were, but are bigger than that. You've got Sweet Sweetback, which is something that comments on Black imagery, that plays with the idea of the way we respond to Black imagery. And it's interesting too, that so many of these films, in addition to being enormously impactful on the African American community, were huge popular successes, and they don't get their due for that either.
Connect the dots between that era and this era, and the eras in between. What are we to make of what comes out of the Black films of the 70s that we enjoy today?
Gee whiz, I can't help but watch Michelle Yeoh win for Everything Everywhere All at Once and think about the action film she did in the 90s and think, without the example of Pam Grier, does that exist? Certainly 5 years after Coffee, there's Charlie's Angels on television, which then becomes a huge movie. And that changed the culture. There's so many of these moments that in these films I think were had seismic impact on the way the world worked. And I think the world of hip-hop doesn't exist without the example of what Curtis Mayfield was doing. When you hear Chuck D talk about Public Enemy being, like Black CNN, well, Curtis Mayfield was doing that and influenced Marvin Gaye, who then probably influenced a bunch of other people. So we could go on. That was the problem with making this documentary, is that it could have been 10 hours long and just trying to cull stuff. But also, it's one of the fun things for me, and I hope you got this from the two, is seeing in a lot of these cases the thrill that Black actors got from working with other Black actors because they had been so isolated. And I think we're about old enough to remember that when you saw a Black and white person on TV in a movie, that was adult entertainment. So it's like, what? Because they're talking, it's adult entertainment? That's, what?
Yeah.
It was really a huge and terrifying thing. So the way the walls have come down, I think, is that we don't look askance at the idea of a white person and a person of color being on screen. In fact, it's on the CNN every morning now, and just everywhere else, the CBS. So those things have changed too. But the way I think they've changed movies is that there's always been an entrepreneurial aspect to Black cinema.
Yeah.
And we look at Melvin Van Peebles to Spike Lee to Robert Townsend. These have been people and filmmakers who changed the independent film movement, who are still, their practices are still being employed today to get movies made. You know, I was just interviewing Robert Townsend last year. I called him up because I knew it was the 35th anniversary of Hollywood Shuffle, which the movie he made with his credit cards. And I just thought, well, gee, I want to hurry up and get to this before somebody else does. And I just thought, nobody's going to do this. Let's not get us
thinking about it, right?
No. They'll do something on, the 20th anniversary of the OC.
Yeah.
But they won't deal with this. And there are filmmakers who are still using credit cards to get films made. And he changed the narrative. And also because, and this goes back to, Bingo Along the All-Stars and the Negro Leagues, the fact that the Negro Leagues, they had to build an audience, bring that audience literally with them to the stadium, sell snacks to that audience, get the audience to engage with the team. So in addition to everything else, they had to play 9 innings of baseball.
Yeah.
So for Oscar Micheaux or Melvin Van Peebles or even Ava DuVernay, you got to find the money for the movie. You got to make the movie. You have to market the movie. I mean, that's a rarity.
Yeah.
And it still exists. You ask me to connect the dots. That through line, that A to B, is still an issue for filmmakers of color.
Yeah. So I do want to talk a little about Detroit. Of course, you're coming here for the herring of Is That Black Enough for You? And it's a return home. You were born in Highland Park. You went to Wayne State, and you have a new role at Wayne State. I love that. I love that idea of returning home to pursue your craft. Talk about that narrative.
Well, that's pretty great too, because I've been lucky enough to teach at a few places. I've taught at Harvard. I've taught the American Film Institute here in Los Angeles. I taught UNLV at its film program. I've spoken universities around the world. So it's pretty awe-inspiring. It knocks me off my feet to be invited back to my alma mater, to be able to tell people how important it was for me to be here. When I was in school, I managed and was a projectionist back when they used to have such things at a movie theater in downtown Detroit. And,
wow.
And so in the early 80s, I was doing that and putting myself through school. And so just to get a chance to talk to the student body at Wayne about the way growing up in Detroit formed me. I don't want people to think that, in fact, I'm so much a Detroiter that wherever I go around the world, my watch is always set on Eastern Standard Time. I was just in Rotterdam for the Rotterdam Film Festival, and people, is your watch broken? No, that's Eastern Standard Time. Where are you from? I'm from Detroit. Was that on Central Time? Well, I don't know how you know that, but no, it's not on Central Time. So yes. But anyway, that's how foundational Detroit is to me and my sensibilities. So I'm beyond honored to be asked to come back and teach a course there, and I hope there's more of that in my future.
Yeah, no, we do too. It's really special. All right, Elvis Mitchell, looking forward.
Before you go, I want to say how much the tradition of Black Journal has meant to me growing up in Detroit. I just want to say the reason I fought to make time for this, and I'm glad you're able to be flexible in your schedule too. And the same way I do how important this show is, and that it's still, this standard is still being kept aloft and alight is really important. I hope for generations of people of color to come.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're working hard at preserving what they built here for us. Great to talk with you, and we look forward to you being at the film festival.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it too. Thanks again for your time.
And you can get a look at Is That Black Enough for You at the Free Film Festival on April 27th. Another event to look forward to this month is the annual Bookstock sale. More than 400,000 gently used books, DVDs and CDs, books on tape and vinyl are going to be available at bargain prices. The event is April 23rd through the 30th at Laurel Park Place in Livonia. and proceeds benefit literacy and education projects here in Michigan. We spoke with Bookstock's honorary chairperson, Neal Rubin of the Detroit Free Press, along with last year's winner of the student essay contest, Syeda Tausiyah, and her teacher at Detroit's Davison Elementary School, Kenya Posey. So, Neal, I'm going to start with you. Tell me about Bookstock this year. 400,000 media available, gently used at bargain prices. One of my favorite events.
Yes, Michigan's largest charity used book and media sale. We've raised more than $2.5 million for literacy and education projects. It's coming back April 23rd through 30th at Laurel Park Place Mall in Livonia. All kinds of special stuff going on during the week. You can catch up with that at bookstockmi.org. But a key thing to know ahead of time is there's a pre-sale on Sunday the 23rd from 8:15 a.m. to 11 a.m. For $20, you can join the throng, go racing in the door, get first crack at all the good stuff. And my advice to newcomers, don't stand between the throng and especially the cookbooks. I actually saw a TV reporter doing a live report get elbowed out of the way by the cookbook fans. So be very careful of your surroundings, but it's a terrific way to get first crack at the book.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like you've got to get to that pre-sale to get all the good stuff, because there's a lot of people who show up for it and get in line quickly. So
yes, although we're putting out, with 400,000 items, books, vinyl, all of it, we're putting out new material all week long. Mm-hmm. So if you don't get there Sunday, there's plenty of good stuff.
Keep going, right? That's right. So Syeda, I want to turn to you next. You won the essay contest last year during Bookstock, which is very cool. Tell me about the essay that you wrote, and tell me about how you love writing.
So the essay was about a Ghanaian received yes. And she is on a little blog who tells about the education of children. And then she was on school G, and what I like about writing about her is that she can give me strength to create a bright future.
Oh, wow. Is writing your favorite subject in school? You're in the 5th grade, is that right?
Yes. I do my own journals at home.
Very good.
I think she competed for the other contest this year for 5th graders for the NAACP as well.
Oh, so very good.
Waiting for the results for that as well. It should be coming this week.
Yeah, very exciting. So Kenya, tell me about the role of not just this essay contest, but events like Bookstock, which celebrate the idea of writing and reading and books in teaching young kids like Syeda.
Yes, it's pretty much a good blessing and a curse kind of like, because some of the students I have to constantly pull the details out of them. But the exciting part about it is, like I said, when they saw she won last year, it kind of motivated the new students I got this year to say, "Oh, when are we going to do that Bookstock contest?" Oh, so they're excited about the money component. They go, right. But like we do the 20 minutes of Dare, we drop everything and read every day. So that was great for the month of March, for the reading month. And then once they finish reading their books, they do a book report anyway. So the ones who pretty much were committed and stayed after and stayed during lunch and submitted their papers. So we had about 15 entries. So we're excited to see how it all turns out. But yeah, we love it. Bookstock is a great program, and it gets the kids excited about reading and writing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that as a teacher, obviously reading and writing are huge building blocks in the early education years, but it's when students feel like they can own it themselves, that they really kind of turn the corner. And this is a great way to have an essay contest, and an essay contest that pays you a little money.
Yeah, and then they, like I said, we have Davison 4.0, so they are displayed on the broadcast in the morning, because we still utilize the Teams platform to get announcements out. So we have students that are running their own broadcast, and they display everything that's going on in the classroom. So they get to shine across the building as well. So it's vision for the kids.
Very cool. Syeda, what did you do with the money that you won from the essay contest?
What did you do?
I gave it to my parents.
Oh, that's a great kid, right?
Very everyone, yes.
Yeah. So, Neal, what year is this now for Bookstock? This is something you guys have been doing for some time.
Oh, geez. 21 years, 22,
right?
I think. It gets hard to count because we skipped a year or two with the pandemic. But the excitement is still there. The best awards, like the one Syeda won, the winners announced on TV on Channel 4, and I MC that, and it's great to see the kids. The finalist essays are poster size on the wall, and the winners are so excited. They're literally jumping up and down. And how great is it? You're a dad and you're a word guy. How great is it to see kids so excited about reading and writing that they're jumping up and down?
Yeah,
It's just fabulous.
It doesn't happen all the time, right?
No.
It's a lot of work, right?
Yeah. So Neal, I'm also curious if people have things that they want to give to Bookstock. How do you do that?
Well, we accept donations throughout the year. We're not accepting any more at this point because we're still frantically sorting and transporting to the mall. But there are always donations. There's a donation button at bookstockmi.org. So we would encourage people, as soon as this one is over, keep an eye on that, because we're very happy to get those books out of your basement and back in people's laps where they belong.
Yeah. I know that what kind of interesting with my kids is they're teenagers now, late teens, and they're really into records. They're really into albums, which was the way I started listening to music when I was a kid, and that went away. But now it's super popular, and I know you guys have a lot of those for sale as well.
Tons and tons, and a lot of them are really collectibles. A few years ago, I got Ray Charles' Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music, which is just a holy grail. It's a legend in absolutely pristine condition for $2. I think the price has gone. I think we're charging a little more, maybe $4 or something like that per vinyl now. But they're just amazing. There are finds basically throughout end to end at Laurel Park Place for this. We don't have time to identify the really valuable stuff.
Yeah, right.
So, people are basically,
you got to go through it,
gold mining throughout this whole thing. We don't care. We just want to sell books and raise money. And if you find a $60 book that we're selling for $3, God bless you. Go tell your friends.
Yeah. Well, Neal, congrats again. Bookstock and Kenya and Syeda, congrats on Syeda's big win last year, and maybe you'll get another winner this year.
Fingers crossed.
But thanks for being here on American Black Journal.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
That's it for this week's show. Thanks for watching, and you can find out more about our guests at AmericanBlackJournal.org and connect with us anytime on Facebook and on Twitter. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
From Delta faucets to Behr paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Support also provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV.
The DTE Foundation proudly supports 50 years of American Black Journal in covering African American history, culture, and politics. The DTE Foundation and American Black Journal, partners in presenting African American perspectives about our communities and in our world.
Also brought to you by Nissan Foundation and viewers like you. Thank you.